Number 121. Psalm 121, we'll look at verse 1 and then some others in there. And then also mark John 11:40 in your Bible. So have that set up, ready to flip over to that a little bit later. I want to show you some things in both of those passages, and we have some others that we're going to be looking at as well today. I encourage you to continue praying for our election. Pray that keep this in mind, is that national leaders, especially those at the very top, they always have a significant influence upon the spiritual climate of a nation. And we see this all through the Bible. All through the Bible. It's very clear. And so it's important that we have leaders in place that are going to acknowledge the name of the Lord and be advocates of the church and of prayer as well. So again, just a quick reminder, vote this week. We were planning to on Friday, and some things came up and got in the way. And we said, well, there's always Monday. So just don't let too many things interrupt you. Make sure you get out and vote this week. God bless you as you do so. Also today, the title of my message is 4 words: lift up your eyes. Lift up your eyes. Do you realize that the first escalator in the southern United States was right here in Fort Worth, and it was a big, big deal. It was just a few blocks away at the Leonard's department store here in downtown Fort Worth. People would come from hundreds of miles away to look at the escalator, to ride it, to ride up and to ride down, and they just had to keep it going all the time because people loved going to the store just to admire and to ride and have fun on that escalator. And I like that. I mean, I think it's a cool little bit of history. You look at the pictures of the original escalator, it kind of looks kind of old and clunky, but definitely not like the kinds that you'll see in other places, such as airports, where the escalators are like 2 or 3 stories high. And I tell you what, when I start looking at those escalators, I just look at them and I get vertigo. Any of y'all with me on that? You just look at them and then get on. I was like, okay, here we go. See, I have this issue with heights and moving things when you're going up high, and that always bothers me. I just got to stay really focused. But one of the things that I've learned just by riding escalators and by using that word escalate is escalation will get you to the next level. I like it because the police around here, I know that they have something that they practice. They practice de-escalation. That is to keep things, bring things from this intense level down, down, down. But I'm not talking about de-escalation today. This is not a topic on how to not, I'm talking about escalation today. And I just encourage you to get escalated and to make escalation happen. I'm going to tell you how to do that here in a second. But this morning, this summer and into the fall and really even into last week, I had a great experience with escalation. I need to tell you a little bit about it. I have this internet service at my house, which I'm sure most of you do. We all do, and it's I'm not going to name the company, but it's a bright spectrum of colors, and I've used them for years and upgraded when I needed to, but starting around the beginning of last summer, I was getting really spotty service, and it would go out, and you'd even be, just like you try to watch a show, and it's the little wheels start spinning on it, and it freezes up and sluggish, and I would do these tests on, and so I'm paying for like 500 to 600 megabits per second on my downloads, and so it's supposed to be good. But it just wasn't. And so I'd call them up constantly and go through their little thing. Well, we're going to have you restart your system. Have you ever done this before? Yeah, I do it every day. I mean, that's kind of like what I'm saying, except I'm nice. I promise you. I'm very, very nice. I'm always nice to them. Yes, well, I understand. It's not their fault. It's not the person on the other end. That's not their fault that my internet is going so slow. And then they'll do stuff to it, and they say, oh, look, you're going at a much better speed. And then I'll test it after it gets off. Like, well, I'm up to maybe like 50 or 60 megabits per second. I mean, that's livable, but it's certainly not what I'd like. And I if I have a video to upload and download and things that I do even for the church at my house, I find, I got to come up to the office and do it. And Ian's like, I can't do it from the house. Got to go up to the office and do it because it works here, doesn't work there. And I'm being nice, trying to work with it. It's finally finally I get this idea at the 1st of August, and like, I know that I can go out and just get new equipment because I've had this old equipment for about 4 years. That's got to be the problem. So I make an appointment. I'm so happy. I take in my stuff and bring it in, and they exchange it. I go home and plug it in. I am so excited. I mean, this cool motor, it looks cool. It looks like aerodynamic, I just know it's going to suck the power out of everything. And it's, oh man, I cannot wait. I read all the reviews on it. It's supposed to be the most amazing thing that company that has a spectrum of, that they offer. And so I hook it up and it's dead. I mean, dead. Nothing works. And I troubleshoot, go through the steps again and again. Nothing works. So I call the company up and they said, well, you probably installed it incorrectly. I mean, that's the kind of voice that I'm hearing. I know. It's like, okay, maybe I'm a preacher, but I do know how to read instructions, and it's pretty simple. Well, you probably have the wires crossed. And so okay, well, they can't figure it out because they are totally convinced it's me. So they said, we're going to have to send out a tech. So they send this tech out. I wait 3 days, no internet. The person finally comes out, and they take a look at it, and they say, well, your equipment's running fine. It's all hooked up fine. The guy was there for 90 minutes and looking over everything. And then he came inside. He goes, and again, the whole time I'm offering them water, snacks. Here's the bathroom. Come in through the back door. You don't have to take your shoes off. Just enjoy the house. He comes in and he goes, well, sir, I found the problem. You have a bad port on the box that's out back behind my house. See, back behind my house is this little box thing, and all these little ports come out of it and goes to all my neighbors, and it's in the back of my yard. And he goes, you have a bad port. And I went, well, okay, well, let's get it fixed. Yeah, we identified the problem. I'm thrilled at this point. So what he does, he says, well, because you have a bad port, I'm going to have to patch you into the neighbor's line here. Just don't say anything, but it's not going to slow them down. You're going to feel fine. Everybody's going to be happy and fine. Okay, well, patch me in, whatever. And so he patched me in, and he leaves, and I go into the house, and I check my internet speed, and I'm getting 650 megabits per second flying into my house. I mean, everything is good. I'm on cloud 9. I said, turn on everything electronic that uses the internet. Let's watch 5 shows at once. I can upload some video download, and we were having a great time with it, and it just slowly starts getting worse and worse. And then a couple weeks ago, it's dead. I mean, just like it'll be on for just a little bit, and it's kind of like the speed of dial-up, and then it goes off, on, off, and so that's not good. So I call them up, and I say, okay, I need someone out here. Well, we can't get anyone out there right now. Well, no, you need to get somebody out here. Yeah. You know how it goes. So, and they want to run all the diagnostics again. And so, okay, I'll let them run the diagnostics, and they're doing it over the phone. Well, it looks like you have a problem. You probably have a line problem. Okay, great. So they send out 4 days, count them, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4 days later, the person comes out, and they start working, looking at everything, and they said, well, sir, you're connected to your neighbor's internet. I know that. And I'm still being very, very nice. I'm being very respectful. And I say, yes, I'm aware. They told me they did that. And what they did is they said when they connected me, they said, we're going to have to escalate this for you. The last guy did. We're going to have to escalate this for you. So this big truck will come. It's a big bucket truck, and the guy's going to come. They're going to redo all of that. And it's going to be really, really awesome. And they're going to come sometime in the next couple of weeks. Well, of course, they never came. They never fixed it. It was never fixed. And so now the guy goes, well, I can't leave you hooked up to the neighbor's internet. I'm going to have to put you back on your port. And then he puts me back on port. I said, yeah, but the guy said it's a bad port. Well, that can't be a bad port. It can't be a bad port. Yeah, I said, yeah, he said my bad port, and the neighbors have a bad port, and they have a bad port. He goes, oh, well, let's see. Oh, well, it doesn't work very good. You must have a bad port. I'm like, yeah, I know that. We're very, very well aware of that. He says, I'm going to escalate this for you. See, when people say they're going to escalate something for you, so he escalates it for me and says, okay, within 48 hours, there's going to be this huge bucket truck that's going to come out. And say, yeah, I've heard about those before. And he said, they're going to come. They work 24 hours a day. He says, and I can tell you, they will be here within 24 hours. They say 24 to 48, but they will be here within 24 hours. So I tell the family, we're all happy. We're excited. Still no internet. And then 24 hours comes, 25, 28, 30, 40. At this point, even Rebecca, nice, calm, collective Rebecca, she's like, do something. And I said, no, let's wait for the 48 hours. That is the window. And so then at 48 hours and 1 minute, and at that moment, I happened to be at the gym. I called her up and said, how's the internet? She says, we have nothing. Okay, great. And so I call them up, and they start talking to me through, well, we need to run some tests. I said, no, you don't. No, you don't. Well, have you restarted your boat? I know how to do that. I've done that multiple times. We do that all the time. I said, no, we're not going to run the tests. We're not going to. We're not going to. I need you to escalate me. So now I'm demanding the escalation. Escalate me. So they escalated me. I found out that when you ask for an escalation, they give you a person who supposedly has more power. I don't know. Maybe the person right next to him, but it sure does feel good. And so they escalate me, and I'm talking to this person. Well, sir, okay, well, we'll see what we can do. And they said, so what's the history of this? So I talk for 10 minutes to explain the history, just like I did with you. And the lady says, you seem to be a very articulate person. You speak very well. I said, well, I do it for a living, but I would like somebody to actually come out here and get this fixed. And at this point, I'm beginning to, there's this intensity that's rising. And they said, well, we've had no work orders to get it fixed. And they said, plus you're just a residential customer. Oh, they said the wrong words at that point. I said, no, there is no just. I said, escalate me. And they escalated me. And I said, okay, the last person said, I'm just a, oh, well, we're sorry about that. They said that we respond better to business customers. I said, well, would you like to know that we also use this at our business, which is my church? We also use you with that help? They said, well, no, because you're still around. I said, no, I want this fixed now. I want to fix now. And fix it. Fix it, fix it, fix it, fix it, fix it, fix it. And so they said, well, sir, we're going to have to escalate you. And I said, no, I tell you what, I want to escalate me. I want to talk to a person. So this is a phone call that goes well over an hour. I explained the situation over and over. Finally, I am escalated to this one dude. And he goes, hey, how you doing? I hear that you're having some trouble. I said, yes, would you like to know? He goes, well, I've got the basics here. And I'm the main dispatcher for those trucks. And we usually do it we're usually there within 24 to 72 hours. I said, well, please understand, I appreciate your words and all that. And I know it's not you, but your company is messing me up. So I explained it to him, the 48-hour thing. I said, we're now at 49 and a half hours. And so let's get someone out here. I need someone now. Now, well, I don't know how quick. Yeah, I need someone now. Am I talking to the main guy? He goes, yeah. Are you in DFW? He says, well, yes. I said, how would I know? Where's your office? He goes, Irving. I said, give me some other evidence. Well, let me tell you about the Cowboys. And so he starts talking about the Cowboys. I know. I said, so give me your cell number, 214. I'm like, baby, yeah. So I've got a Metroplex guy here. And so I'm very happy about this. Okay, we're friends at this point. I write his number down. He goes, you can call and text me. If you call me, I will call you right back because you're a very important customer. That's because I escalated myself at this point. And so we're right there. I'm talking to the dude. And then he says, I'm going to send someone out. They'll be there within an hour. Like, right, okay. Well, I said, okay, I'm going to hold you to it. If they're not there in an hour, trust me, you'll be getting a call back. And I'm telling you, 59 minutes later, the guy rings the doorbell. He comes in, and the guy checks with me. Yes, see, I'd escalated myself, and the things were looking good. They said, well, I was sent over here. I'm one of the main guys who've been working for the company for a long time. I kind of know how all this works. I said, good. I'm so glad you're here. Let me show you. And so he starts looking around. He goes, well, sir, you have a bad port. I'm very nice to the guy. I say, yes, I do realize that. He goes, well, we're going to get you someone out here, and then we're going to bring a big bucket truck. And I said, wait, the dispatcher that I talked to, this guy, and here's his number. I said, is this the dispatcher of the bucket trucks? He said, yeah. I said, good. Give me your number also. So he gives me his number. He goes, okay, I'm going to stick with you through this process, but we're going to get somebody out here. And this will be done in less than 24 hours. I said, it had better be because I will escalate myself so far. And so finally, I'm asleep. 2 a.m., Rebecca wakes me up. Damn. There's a truck out front, and I don't know what they're doing. I'm like, what? I said, well, that's probably, he said, does it have a big bucket on it? I don't know. I don't want them to see me looking through the window. Like, oh, Okay, so I go and look. Yeah, it's the bucket truck. So I'm going out there and shorts and my t-shirt and like, hey, dude. And it's so cool because it's dark night. He's got this helmet on that has this 360 lighting all the way around his helmet. It's like this halo. Very cool. So I think that's cool, man. I'm just hanging out with this guy at 2 a.m. He goes, here's the box out behind my house. He goes, yeah, heard you had a bad port. I said, are you the guy who fixes bad ports? Yeah, we've been talking about you guys for months. You know, so good to have you here. Well, he comes and fixes it. He goes, you know what? There's just a bigger problem than just you. There are problems all through this neighborhood. So we're going to keep working on this for the next few days, but your internet will be up and running. And certainly the next 2 nights, I get these notifications, your whole neighborhood is out. And I'm thinking, yeah, that's because I did it. And the whole neighborhood is out for the next 2 nights. And then the next morning. And then finally I get a text on Thursday morning saying, sir, we have finished all of the work on yours and on your neighborhood. The entire neighborhood is up and running great, and you're running great. So I'm happy. But you know what happened? It worked because I escalated the system, and I didn't trust their escalations. And I made some new friends and hopefully no enemies over the phone, but I was going to be strong. I'm going to deal with this. I'm going to escalate. And that's what I'm challenging you to do. Sometimes you got to take the bull by the horns and you've got to escalate. And I'm talking about in spiritual terms, not with Spectrum. I wasn't going to name the company, but that is a company which could be my internet provider. You know, I was reading through the Bible about 6 months ago, and I noticed something as I was reading in the Gospels, that when Jesus prayed, quite often it says that he lifted his eyes. Jesus looked up. He lifted his eyes toward heaven. Now, I know in our world, when we pray, it's bow your heads and close your eyes. I mean, you've been trained that. Some of you have been trained that since childhood, and I guess there's a purpose behind that, and that is because we want to block out distractions. We want to kind of zero in on God, and our world is full of distractions, and I get it, but there's something about lift. So I started practicing it. You see, one of the things I like to do, I guess one of the ways times I get a lot of revelation, hear from God, talk to God, is to go out on a walk. And I'll go out in a park and just go for a walk. And I just started doing it like this, and lifting up my eyes and looking up to the heavens and talking to Jesus. And man, this is a cool way to pray. This is awesome. But that's when I started noticing a contrast, because I would see other people around that were not lifting up their eyes, but they were all looking down. They were looking down at their phones, like some of y'all are doing right now, looking down at their phones. I don't know what they were doing, playing games, trying to make some more social media posts, or doing mindless chatting and all of that, but their eyes were down. Everybody's eyes were down, I noticed. And I thought, my eyes are up. This is kind of a cool thing. My eyes are up. I'm escalating. See, it's like they are de-escalating their lives. I don't know what they're doing, but they're de-escalating, and I am intentionally escalating. My eyes are lifted up toward the heavens, and I'm talking with my Creator. Who knows what they're doing? But I'm talking to the Creator, and that started invigorating me spiritually. And so what I did is I made some notes, and I came back and I started studying, and I did a devotional for myself, which I encourage you to do. And this is a crazy devotional, but I just went through the whole Bible and I started looking at every instance where a person lifted up their eyes, lift up your face, lift up your head. And what is the common thread through all this? And I came up with my own reasoning why this is in the scriptures. And I'll show this to you here. To lift up your eyes basically means this. It means that you're praying. It also means that you're looking at what's coming. Lifting up your eyes, it means that you're having hope. It means you're focusing on God. It means that you're going to stop focusing on the minutia. You see, when your head is down, you're looking at the ants. When your head is up, you're looking at the Creator. You're looking at the future. You're looking at the hope that's ahead of you. And that was a powerful devotion for me. And since then, I've been doing that. And I don't know, you guys probably don't notice, but even in here, many times when I'm praying, I've been looking up. And the lights kind of hurt my eyes, but I don't care. I've been looking up. And it's a different kind of expression toward God. And I'm really getting into this. And I wouldn't get out of my heart. And I don't usually share my devotions with you guys as sermons. Usually it's a little different, but But in this case, I thought, God, is this something for the church? And I felt the Lord say, yeah. So I want to share with you very quickly 4 instances, or really 4 different ways that we are to lift up our eyes in this current age that we're in. We need to be lifting up our eyes, and why we need to be doing it, and what it will do for us. The first one is this: lift up your eyes because Jesus is coming soon. I was sharing this with the church elders on Wednesday evening. There are so many signs, and evil is rampant. And as a theology student, as a person who studied the Word, I know this. As the Scripture says, Satan knows his time is short. That's why we're seeing all kinds of stuff. Even one of the things I mentioned to them about the war in Israel right now, I shared this with you guys a little over a year ago when it first started, that this could be the beginning of the war of Gog and Magog, spoken of in the book of Ezekiel, and which is the war that actually precedes the Battle of Armageddon. And so we're not there, of course, but this is the major war that Israel faces when all the nations surrounding them come against them, and we're seeing this happen. I was at a ministers' meeting on Thursday morning, and the guy who was at this ministers' meeting speaking, he was a Jewish believer. He's from Israel, and he brought this up. He says, I don't think anybody knows this, but we believe this is the beginning of the war of Gog and Magog. And I'm going, oh, yeah. And he said, this tells us the time is short. The time is short. Jesus is coming soon. In Luke 21, Jesus said this, but when these things begin to take place, he says, straighten up and lift up your heads because your redemption is drawing near. What do we do when we see these things that are happening around us? Instead of being sucked into it, we lift up our eyes. We lift up our heads and we get our eyes off the craziness. And this is worth repeating. I've shared this with you over the past few weeks, and I may have to keep sharing it until we get it into our hearts and start doing it, but we do know that things are crazy. We know it. We see it. There's chaos, there's trouble, there's the politics stuff that's going on, there's war, there's death, there's crazy weather. And I will say it again, do not be overtaken with emotion. Don't. And also remember this, our battle is not against people. And during this season, as believers, we absolutely must keep our peace. Let nothing rob you of your peace, and keep sharing Jesus. And I believe this. Of course, things are crazy, but this is not a spiritual revelation. I think it's logical that things are going to get even crazier. And you need to decide right now, how are you going to act? For we do not wage war as the way that the world does. We are battling against principalities and powers and spiritual wickedness in high places. And even with the election stuff that's going on right now, absolutely, you must be informed and you definitely need to vote. But the problems in the culture, the battle in the culture is not against the people who are instigating it, who are in charge of the woke culture. We see that. That's the evidence of it. Our battle is not against corrupt government officials. It's not against even people in your life that tend to make your life miserable. Our battle is against hell. Our battle is against Satan. Our battle is against the forces of darkness. And we must, in this era, make our stance as believers clear. We are the children of God, and at the same time, we are going to stay engaged in that battle on a spiritual level. So lift up your eyes. Fight this battle spiritually. Look toward Jesus. He's the captain of the army of the Lord, just like he said to Joshua. Lift up your eyes, church. Jesus is coming soon. At the same time, many of you are going through some very intense personal battles. There are assaults on your homes and your finances, companies, relationships, even your physical bodies. And I know we can get obsessed with trying to fix things in our own way by constantly rebooting and restarting and troubleshooting and trying to fix it and trying to call out another text and letting other people escalate stuff for us. And what happens is we end up getting weary and exhausted and wore out. So why not escalate it yourself? You know? And this is what I'm calling you to do. Lift up your eyes to Jesus for help. Such a simple message, but so true. Stop focusing on the minutia. Like this is a major deal. No, it's still minutia when it comes to the power of God. Lift up your eyes to Jesus. Call on him for help and watch with your eyes what Jesus will do. I told you to turn to Psalm 121, verse 1. This is called, if the very top of your Bible, at the very beginning, it should say a song of ascents. And that means this is about ascending the mountain of the Lord. It would have been written around the time of David. So what they did is they would ascend Mount Zion, which is just outside of Jerusalem, where the Ark of the Covenant was. David had his small tabernacle set up there called the Tabernacle of David. It was just a little tent which had the Ark of the Covenant in it. And people could actually go and see it. But at that place, there was this 24-hour, 7 days a week worship and praise that was going on. And Psalm 121, verse 1, look at it. It says, I will raise my eyes to the mountains. This is a song of ascents. It's about going up Mount Zion. Where does my help come from? My help comes from the Lord who made heaven and earth. Psalm 134, even a few chapters later, it tells us about this song of worship, how the worship goes day and night. And can you imagine this? You're living in Jerusalem, and the mountain, Mount Zion, the mountain of the Lord is just right over there, and you wake up from a frightening dream or racing thoughts, and you have this fear, but then you begin to hear the sound of the worship coming from the tabernacle of David on Mount Zion at 3 a.m. The worship, lifting your eyes to Jesus means worshiping him. Worship him. And what does he do? He brings help. Look down at verse 7. Verse 7 says this, the Lord will protect you from all evil. He will keep your soul. The Lord will guard your going out and your coming in from this time forever and ever. That's a good one to memorize right there. Get that into your heart. Memorize it. Now, go ahead and get your Bibles turned over to John 11:40. We'll look there in just a second. But do you believe that? Do you really believe that? Call on Jesus for help. Get your eyes fixed on him. Call on him now. Begin to worship and to praise him. What will he do? He will send protection from evil. He will keep your soul protected, which is your mind and your emotions. Some of your emotions are out of control. Your mind is going all kinds of places. But when your eyes are fixed on him, as you're worshiping him, he's going to do that for you. And he will guard you when you come and go. He's going to guard you when you're going to and from work, to and from the store, to and from the hospital, to and from the cities you travel on. And God knows we need that to happen to us on I-35, I-20, I-30, 820, on 121, and 287. Can I hear an amen, all right? He will guard your going out and your coming in. Lift up your eyes to Jesus for help. Also keep in mind that our time on earth is short, and we have to get our eyes off the minutia. That's part of escalating yourself, lifting your eyes up. And we need to recognize that we also have a job to do. We need to lift up our eyes and look around us and see the people who need Jesus. See, what counts more than anything in this world is lost people coming to Jesus. And we're not just living on this earth just to make a living, celebrate birthdays and anniversaries and go to school and hang out with friends and family. I mean, all that's years receive in eternal wages for our spiritual employment. And see, Jesus likened the reaching out to lost people. He likened it to an agricultural event. And of course, everybody in that culture would have understood it. So here's the image. Many people have gone before us planting seed, but they didn't get to do the harvest. But they're hoping for the harvest, but the harvest hasn't happened yet. But Jesus said this. He said this in John 4:35. He says, do you not say, still there are 4 months, and then comes the harvest? Behold, I tell you, raise your eyes. Look, lift up your eyes. Look. Observe the fields. They are white for harvest. Now, we would have known, still it was 4 months to the harvest. They weren't looking at literal fields right there. Jesus was pointing at the people that were there in Samaria. And see, wheat turns white at the harvest time. And in Samaria at that time, there would have been people all through the community wearing white robes, wearing white, keeping the sun, the heat off of them. And he's looking and says, see the white? They're white for harvest. He was telling his disciples, now is the time to harvest souls, not later. And I believe We need to hear this more than ever because time is short. People need Jesus. They need his love. They need his forgiveness. They need his compassion, his presence, his spirit. They need his healing. They need his restoration. Jesus runs toward broken people, but we need to connect them. Jesus wants to bring them peace. Jesus wants to cast out all fear, and that's our job to deliver that. I just want to say, stop delaying your call of spiritual employment to bring people to Jesus. Share your story. Declare who Jesus is in your life. Bring people to church and sit with them and bring them to your Connect group. And you don't have to be a professional preacher. You don't have to have a seminary degree. You don't have to memorize have a bunch of prayers that you have to memorize. No, but you do need to be spiritually employed. Serving in your church, well, of course, but we need to be serving in the culture, reaching people for Jesus. Lift up your eyes and see the people who need Jesus. And finally, some of you need a miracle. You've been focused down. When we are not doing well, we tend to literally drop our heads, drop our eyes. We are downcast. We look down. We don't even want to lift up our eyes. Some of you have been looking down, trying to figure out what to do about the crisis that you have absolutely no answer for because it's so far beyond you. Instead of expecting other people to escalate it for you, you need to escalate it. Lift up your eyes and expect miracles. Church, now, you can't focus on the problems. You got to focus on the solution. The solution is Jesus. My little grandson, Elijah, was at the house a couple nights ago, and he was there in the pantry with me, and I have all this stuff in the pantry, all this food, and he likes to go in there and check it out, see what Grandpa's got, what Grandma's hiding in there, and he stands in front of this lowest shelf. There are some glass canisters there, and inside of one of them were little bags of animal crackers, animal cookies. They're not literally animals now. They're like Toy Story, but of course it's Woody and Buzz and all their friends. And he just kept looking at it, and I just let him look. I'm not going to interrupt him. Let him look and let him look. He was staring at it, and then finally he lifted up his eyes. He looked at Grandpa and he says, "Grandpa, can I have one of those?" With expectant faith and a big smile on his little 2-year-old face. And I said, "Well, of course." We opened it up, and man, he gobbled them down. And he's like, "Which one is this, Grandpa? Which one is this?" He was so happy, he kept shoving them in his mouth. And I said, "Okay, you're going to have to swallow those." He just loved having them in his mouth, and finally got to the end, making him swallow them. Drink some water, swallow them. He got to the end, and so now I'm sad. He got teary-eyed because all the animal crackers were gone. But the beauty of it is that he took care of the situation. He accelerated it. He moved it forward. He expected something, and he got it because he lifted up his eyes to Grandpa. And I want to tell you, regardless of how broken you might be right now, regardless of the pain in your life and how huge your need is, this season that you're going through will not define you. You hear me? It will not define you. Because it's time to lift up your eyes. It's time to expect miracles. Because I'm telling you, church, Jesus will even raise the dead. I want you to look at this final scripture. John chapter 11, verse 40. Jesus' friend Lazarus had died. His sisters were distraught. But I want you to look at what happened when Jesus brought his friend Lazarus back to life. John 11, 40 through 44. Jesus said to her, Martha, there's another friend of his, that's Lazarus' sister, "Did I not say to you that if you believe, you'll see the glory of God?" So they removed the stone. And what did Jesus do? Peered inside? No, he didn't look at the problem. He looked at Martha? No, he didn't look at the problem. Look all around, all the people crying and moaning? No, he didn't look around. He raised his eyes. I love it because we even have the prayer that he prayed there. He said, "Father, I thank you that you have heard me." He's saying this out loud so they can hear you. "But I knew that you always hear me. Nevertheless, because of the people standing around, I said it so that they may believe that you sent me. And when he said these things, he cried with a loud voice, Lazarus, come out! And out came the man who had died, bound hand and foot with wrappings, and his face was wrapped around with a cloth. And Jesus said to them, unbind him and let him go. You see, what Jesus modeled for us there is about getting our eyes off the reality that's right in front of us, because there's a lot of reality right in front of you. Get your eyes, stop focusing on the reality and escalate it yourself. Lift up your eyes and begin to expect a miracle. As I was preparing this sermon, I found myself singing a song that I used to sing in church as a child, and I looked it up. I like the stories behind the songs sometimes, and I found it was about 100 years ago. This woman by the name of Helen Lamell. She was this Methodist missionary to the African nation of Angola. That's in West Africa, just south of the equator. She was a missionary down there. She had a hard life, huge sacrifices. A lot of men wouldn't go and be missionaries in those days, so it was the women who went out. Thank God for godly women missionaries. There's a bunch of women who were there working together, sharing the gospel with the people of Angola. She didn't have much outside support at all, but God did amazing things through her. In fact, today in Angola, I looked up the statistics yesterday, 80% of Angola is Christian. Yeah, either Protestant Christian or Catholic Christian. And she wrote a little pamphlet, and in it is a verse that was turned into a song. Michael W. Smith repopularized this a few years back. It says, turn your eyes upon Jesus. The missionary, she penned these words, and these words that she penned really just echo everything that I'm saying today, and I couldn't get this song out of my mind. Turn your eyes on Jesus. Look full in his wonderful face. And the things of earth will grow strangely dim in the light of his glory and grace. I want everybody to stand, because we're going to have a time of prayer here. We're going to escalate things, but you've got to escalate it for yourself. I want you to stop seeing yourself as small, insignificant, barely surviving. Lift up your eyes and discover or rediscover the power of God. Receive fresh vision for your life and fresh perspective. What is God saying to you? What will you do? What are you going to do to change your perspective? How will you begin to lift up your eyes? Take a look at the song. Let's listen to it.
I want to thank you for tuning in to Sunday Service Online. It's my prayer that the message that was just shared with you will minister to you personally and will help you in your walk with God, as well as being able to connect somewhat with our local church family. Yet another way to connect with City Life is through the City Life app. And on the City Life app, you're going to find plenty of other messages that I've shared, as well as my Tim at 12 content. And there's going to be a lot of opportunities to sign up for various activities and ways to serve in the local church. So many other things on the City Life app. So go over to the Google Play Store or the App Store and download the City Life app today. Also, I would love it if you would join me for one of our live services. We meet every Sunday morning at 10 a.m. and more information is available on the City Life website at citylifefw.org. I would love to meet you in person. God bless.